So I'm trying out a new game. It's not 100% new. I guess there was a version of this on a different platform, but it came to Steam 2 weeks ago, and it's called The Roottrees Are Dead. So this is a game that takes place in 1998 in Pennsylvania. It's about a family called the Roottrees. Their grandfather owns this company, a candy company, but then there's a terrible plane crash, and it ends up killing, or something happens to the three daughters of the man that owns the candy company, and they're trying to investigate whether the plane crash was an accident or if something sinister is going on. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this game on social media yet, so I'm trying to avoid spoilers as best I can. I did see, though, that people are saying you need to take note. So I have paper, I have colored pens, because I guess there's a big mystery to unveil. I'm probably not going to be able to play this all in one setting, but let's just get started and see what happens. So there's two different versions of the game. So the Roottrees Are Dead is the original mystery, and then I guess there's a second thing you can uncover once you finish the first part. So we're going to start with part 1. Definitely gives me very 90s feels, like the loading screen, but that's cute. Very retro. I think retro is in these days. So for those of you who may have watched other videos on my channel, you'll see things referring to Lost Records, Bloom and Rage.
The plane that crashed last night just outside of Pittsburgh is now known to have been the private jet of the Roottree Corporation. Local aviation authorities have speculated, based on the pilot's final communication, that the winter storm and heavy winds played a significant role in the crash. On board were multiple family members, including corporate president Carl Roottree and his daughters, the Roottrees sisters, best known for their fashion lines and modeling careers. There were no survivors. Again, for those of you just joining us, the Rootrees are dead.
How morbid. I got cut off in the middle of my thought there for sure.
I know it's late, but I'm guessing you've seen the news. In addition to dealing with the grief, the Roottree company's lawyers are scrambling.
I don't know why they would be scrambling. But to my original point, something about 2025 is like a retro year. A lot of games are being taking place in the 90s. So things like Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, the Mixtape, which is another narrative story-based game that was announced at the Game Awards last year. I guess the 90s is now retro, even though it was only 30 years ago. So I'm already loving this vibe with the landline on the wall. And I'm assuming this is the answering machine here. This radio over on the table. Is that a fax machine or a printer? Riot Girl poster. Like, this is very 90s.
Everything's about to change. Anyone proven to be a blood relative is about to get much richer. I'm here to ensure everyone is accountable.
Is she an assistant or is she a maid? What's going on?
I've heard you're an expert at sorting out complicated family trees. A genealogy.
Oh, so I'm the investigator. Okay.
I'm going to give you a quick test. Pass, and I can promise you the job.
Okay, what's the test? Oh, complete the family tree on the Roottrees sisters. Siblings are in birth order. So we have oldest to youngest. Oldest is married. Examine my evidence. Search the internet for clues. Fill in names. Fill in occupations. Oh, fill in photos. Okay, this can't be too crazy. So step 1 is evidence. Oh, we can go in order. Okay, so step 1 is evidence. We got milk pitcher. The person who hired you gave you this photo with the note attached. This was taken during the shoot for the Roottrees Sisters Got Milk ad. I tracked down the test photo from before they were painted with the fake mustaches, on which I thought would be more appropriate considering the circumstances. The ad's copy reads, "You might recognize our faces from the magazine you're reading, or you might recognize our name from the candy bar you're eating. Being a Roottree is a full-time job, but so is growing up. That's why the calcium found in milk is so important. Plus, you can't make chocolate without it." So these are the 3 sisters. I'm assuming the oldest one's here on the left, the middle one's in the middle, and the youngest is on the right. But we're not 100% sure. just from the picture zooming in, she looks like she has more like lines around her mouth, like she's older. Her makeup's a little bit like light, like she doesn't do a lot. She's got the only one with jewelry on is this one. Am I missing anything? So there's a computer. Oh, not that dial-up. Oh my God. No notifications, nothing printing. Are we really about to wait for this to connect? I don't miss that at all. Shout out in the chat if you had to use AOL back in the day, because that's so painful. Okay, so there's a text pad that says, welcome to the information superhighway. Thank you for purchasing a new Cashew PC. Your PC is equipped with a 50K modem. Oh my God, which is fast enough to access any internet on the World Wide Web, even those with high resolution images. If you find anything interesting, be sure to print it out with your own high-end color laser printer or burn a music CD to listen to later. If you want to revisit a search result, be sure to use the Explorer's new history feature. Happy surfing, and remember, Cashew's PCs are delicious. Don't try to eat your computer. That would be something you'd say in the 90s. Okay, so we're just going to type in Roottrees. Maybe I'll get something from, oh, wow. The first few pages are filled with news advertisements about the plane crash. Besides that, there are countless advertisements and conversations about various products made by the Roottree Candy Company. Most articles mention Carl Roottree, who is the president of the Roottree Company. His daughters are also eulogized, collectively known as the Roottree sisters. They've been famous for a very early age. All right, well, let's try the Roottree sisters. Oh, doesn't like that. They're just going to make it so difficult. Okay, so there are a lot of obituaries that focus on the Roottree sisters' modeling careers. You also come across an unofficial Roottree fan site seemingly curated by a teenager. It's neon pink with purple text and hard to read until you highlight the words. The young webmaster writes, Raina is the most famous because she's the oldest. All right, so we got one name. Thank God, because we were getting nowhere. So we have Raina, and she's the oldest. She got married to TMS. So, not sure who that is. Riley is the smartest. And Rose is the middle child like me. So we have youngest is Riley, and we have oldest, or middle, is Rose. You might think they're rich just because they're models, but their dad is also the president of the candy company, and their mom, Brenda, is a fashion designer. Okay, that's interesting. So their dad owns the company, but they don't refer to mom as having a job. So I don't know if that's impactful or not. I eat Roottree candy all the time. My favorite are maple crisps, and sometimes I dress in plaid root clothes like Riley does. Oh, so Riley dresses in root? Riley dresses in plaid. Okay. I don't know if Root is a brand because it's capitalized. And then Rose has her ears pierced. Okay. Okay. Let's try. We're going to try Raina Roottree. All right, let's try TMS. Let's try Raina TMS. Okay. All right. So let's just try TMS by itself. Okay, TMS is a common abbreviation for the early 90s teen heartthrob Tommy Mark Sheridan. So that's important. Tommy. I wonder if his name is actually Tommy or is it Thomas? See, his first credited role is Thomas Sheridan. So Tommy's a nickname. He was on a soap opera. So I'm going to put that down. That Tommy is a nickname. Mark Sheridan. He's an actor, sounds like. He's an actor. He was on a soap opera called Time Marches On. I see why people recommended having paper, because this is a lot to just remember off the top of your head. And then he got a role. He started on a soap opera, and then he got a role on a sitcom called Brother Trouble. Reminds me of like Sister Sister, if you watched that back in the 90s. At the end of Brother Trouble, he was often on the cover of tabloids for his supposed drug use, and most recently his relationship with Raina Roottree. After a short engagement, they got married in 97. So they just got married a year ago. When she was only 19, so he's 4 years older. Okay. I guess it's a good place to start. We're going to look up Riley Roottree and see if anything comes up for her. Okay, so it's the same stuff. I forgot how they told me I could print stuff. Maybe I'm not able to print those. Okay, let's try Carl Roottree again, because we didn't get a lot from him. Okay, so Carl Roottree died in the recent plane crash along with his wife, Brenda Roottree, and their daughters, the Roottree sisters. He was the president of the Roottree Candy Company, as well as the clothing company Root, which he co-founded with his wife. Oh, so Root is a clothing brand. According to news sites, the Roottree Candy Company plans to put out a press release sometime within the hour to address the absence of Carl, the crash, and the questions they've been receiving. Once you finish placing the Roottree sisters on the family tree, it would be wise to repeat this search. I wonder why they said that. That's important. This is going to be a very complex game. This is something harder than I normally would play. I think I'm good on this for now. Can we look around the house? So that's the computer. 703 on the radio. We have a password that says password. So that's not very creative. We have a random password. We're not sure what that goes to. And it's P, the @ sign, SSWORD with an exclamation point. We have a duck. We have books. They have Family Doku, the Alphabet Davis, and the erased names of the Genesis. Alphabet Davis, Ends and Beginnings, a Young Alphabet Adventure. Reverence. I don't know what all this is. Can we get out of that? What else is up there? We looked at the computer. We got a poster. Poster's not really helpful. So the Montjoys, is that our family legacy? Are we Montjoys also? Not quite sure. Okay, so we do have some information. Oh, there's a ton of names. So the oldest we know is Raina. She's a model. Then we have the middle child, who we know is Rose. Where is she? She not on here? Am I missing her? I don't know why I can't find Rose here. This is weird. And then the youngest would be Riley. They're all models, right? I mean, I think that's the only thing that they do. And then we know the husband is Thomas or Tommy Sheridan. Okay. And they're married. But I don't have photos. Oh, I see. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go back to the evidence wall. We're going to say Riley is the youngest one. We're going to say, well, it's so unclear. Because in the post, they said that Rose is the middle child and her ears are pierced. which is so funny because she's the only one with pierced ears. So now I'm like unsure. Because Riley's supposed to be the youngest and she's dressed in plaid Root. Which would make me think it's her. Because she's dressed in plaid. Then we have the one with the pierced ears is supposed to be the middle child. And Raina's supposed to be the oldest. But I just find that so hard to believe. You know what I mean? I'm just not feeling confident. So, I don't know. And then this one's supposed to be Riley, but I can't find her name in here. Unless I'm just totally overlooking it and she has a different name. Because it's like... No, Riley's the youngest, sorry. I had her... She was right where I had her the first time. And then Rose. There's no one with that name on the list. Oh. That can't be true, though. Okay, so we clearly have missed something. We have a notepad. Oh, you can type notes. Okay, well, I'm not even about to start that right now. I'm still missing something. So, what's on this table? Oh, this is the ad. Okay. Back to the computer then, because I'm clearly missing something. We're going to search again. Because I'm not getting Rose. So, does she not exist? Okay, so Rose Roottree is not as popular as her older sister Raina, but still very well known. Most of the time, they're lumped together as the Roottree sisters. Unfortunately, the results for Rose by herself don't lead to anything different than when searching the sisters together. Okay, why don't we look up the clothing company? Because maybe that was the problem. Okay, so Roots, the period is part of the name, is a clothing company that make clothing for children, for children from toddlers to teens. Although their website is down, likely due to an increased web traffic, you find countless retail sites attempting to advertise their clothes towards the target audience. One of them says, "You spied the Roottree sisters looking hella fly on catalogs, magazines, and posters. Now you too can look like Riley, Rose, or Raina." Apparently, you also come across a website from a collector of clothing catalogs. Apparently, Root has released 2 catalogs per year, every year, since 1984, and Raina appears on almost all of them. There's only one that mentions the webmaster considers a collection item enough to mention. It appears that Brenda Roottree, the Roottree sisters' mother and Root's head designer, appeared on one cover holding her daughter Rose in 1985. The site says this is the only time her daughter was ever listed by her birth name, Carly. That's why she's not coming up when I look for her. Because her name is Carly, but they call her Rose, I guess, to keep in the theme of like R for the girls. So her real name is Rose. Or I'm sorry, her real name is Carly. It's also cool to know that the mom not only co-founded the company, but the mom is also the head designer. So she's not just the mom and owner of a company. She's the head designer. Head designer, appeared on the cover. In 1985, holding Carly / Rose. Okay. And they release 2 catalogs a year. So they probably do like a fall and a spring catalog, I guess. Every year since 1984. So it's probably when they opened or when they started. Maybe. I think I need to look up the candy store. So it's the Roottrees Candy Company. Oh, nope. Doesn't like that. Okay, we're going to go back to this little table. Oh, no, not that one. Nope, don't want that either. I don't know what's going on. A lot of buttons here. Doesn't help me with the pictures. But now we know her name is Carly, so that helps in terms of putting her on the paper. So we have Carly and Raina. I'm not sure how I feel about the pictures. I think that's where I'm messing up. So if I'm telling the truth, based on the descriptions, Riley dresses in plaid. So that has to be Riley in the middle. I feel like she looks too old to be Carly. I want to say that she's the oldest. I'm so unsure. Yeah, figure out what's incorrect. So maybe I was wrong. I just feel like that can't be right, though. Because she has to be the one in plaid. So are we really saying that this one's in the middle? Okay. To me, the older one, the one that looks older was not the oldest one. Whatever. So we definitely have confirmed 3 of the 50 blood relatives. So we know Raina, Carly, and Riley. They're all models, and we got the right pictures. We have also unlocked an optional entry, which is Thomas Sheridan, which is supposed to be her husband.
Sorry to test you, but I had to be sure you could use the internet. Some folks refuse to get with the times. Safe to say,
Thank God, because that was challenging.
the reward for untangling the family tree is substantial. Life-changing, even. But here's the catch. The Roottrees go way back. The family tree's a bit daunting. Most people freak out the first time they see the whole thing. But I'm sure...
I guess.
The man who started it was particular about whom he considered family. For your purposes, you only need his direct blood relatives. Anyone related only by marriage is optional, but filling them in can lead to...
Yeah, Thomas Sheridan's going to be a big deal.
Lastly, you now have access to some unique websites, plus a list of notable Roottrees.
Okay.
Notable people are easy to find via your search engine, and marked with stars on the family tree. I'm off for now. Carl Roottree had a lot in his office. I'll look for anything useful. I'll return once you identify 6 more.
Dang, 6. Okay. Whew, this tree has, like, escalated. Again? What do you want?
Sorry, one last thing. This might sound odd, but if anyone else claiming to represent the Rootrees reaches out, I'd appreciate you not mentioning I was here.
That's suspicious. I thought you worked for the Roottrees, babe. Oh. Wow, we have a lot of stars. Okay, so we have to start sleuthing again, but I'm not sure. It's hard because we have him, and I think he's locked in because he has the yellow border on him. But we don't have a picture. But I guess we don't need one. Doesn't seem like it's relevant because he only cares about direct spouses. Why is this person flagged? Okay. Well, let's look at the new evidence. She gave us something new. So what else did you give me? Close that. Okay, so she gave me a list of names. Oh my God. We're going to have to go slow. Because they gave me like 20,000 names. So we have the Roottrie sisters, which is what we just did. We just finished the 3 sisters, so I'm not going to search them again and see how it's crossed out on the left-hand side. So logically, the next person would be Carl Roottree. So we're going to try to go in order and not get lost in the sauce here. So Carl Roottree would be the next person. After Carl, I'm going to keep going in order. So it's going to be Elias and Gwyneth Roottree. So let's only do 2 at a time because if not, it's going to be a mess. Did they give me anything else? So we have an advertisement for 5 pieces aimed at children from the magazine Teen Blast. It's mentioned that the 5 pieces were named as such because the original creator had 5 children. The ad also mentions that the 5 current flavors are not the same as back then. Oh, you've been working this line for a long time. In fact, you've developed a 6th sense on how useful your information can be. The number in the magnifying glass refers to how many clues are connected to a specific piece of evidence. The higher the number, the more there is to find. At the start of your search, the notable list sets off alarm bells. The list of famous people that you can find via search engine. It's pretty rare to get something that useful. Best take advantage of it. As you progress, these numbers will change. Whenever you find more evidence or lock in family members, new discoveries will be added to the list and old evidence will become less useful. Use your intuition. If a piece of evidence seems too good to be true, take a deeper look at it, a closer look at it, or the phrases it mentions. Often the most satisfying revelations come from retracing a path you thought you fully explored, armed with a new perspective. Sometimes the reason certain evidence is such high value is because it can lead to finding more evidence. You might be missing a piece of the puzzle. So this has 11. I don't know why that's significant. We're going to write it down though. So 5 pieces, which is not a person, but it's something worth searching. And then the 5 flavors include So Strawberry, Cool Chocolate, Bad Blue Raspberry, I guess is what we're saying. Bad Blue, I guess these are supposed to be like Skittles or something. Like Starburst. Something that has 5 flavors. Awesome Apple. And Power Plum. Now, just logically speaking, these 5 letters, S, P, A, B, C, are probably the initials of the first name of the 5 children. Is what I'm thinking. I could be off, though. And these are not the same flavors as back then. So that means these have changed over time. Somebody on the family tree must have changed these. So that's interesting. Because it's no longer the 1920s. So it says radical new flavors because it's no longer the 1920s. So it changed in the 20s? Maybe? So that's going to be helpful. Okay, let's see what else we have to work with. We have the names. We're only going to start with 2. We have the pictures. We have news alerts. So it says the Roottrees sisters and their parents died in a plane crash on December 6, 1998. The evening, a shadowy figure appears at your door and said the lawyers are looking to sort out the family tree. After a quick test, the figure gave you access to some resources. This includes a list of notable Roottrees, who they said would be the easiest family members to place. They also said they would return in time it took to fill out 6 more relatives. Okay, so we already knew that. But we have quite a bit of evidence. So the notable Roottrees has 35 clues. 5-piece ads has 11 clues. And then we have the picture and the story. So, okay, so you can sort it differently. I guess this means going back to the computer. There's something up here. What is this? You can open this envelope after the whole family tree has been filled in. It has 2 names that must be typed in manually. The clues are obscure. Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. We're nowhere near being ready for that. But there are a lot of things that are missing on here, so let's get to the computer. Or we can search the house again. Is there anything else that I didn't look at? No, I don't think so. Okay, back to the computer then. Oh, we have different stuff now. We have periodicals, we have a public library, and we have the search. We're going to do search for right now. So we're going to start, like I said, with... Well, I kind of look at the 5 pieces. Okay. From marketing materials and various candy history sites, you learn that the 5 pieces are iconic candies sold by the Roottree Candy Company. Although they are no longer the company's only popular product, they still sell well to this day. So they were probably the original popular candy. So they were the first popular candy from the company. I guess that's important. 5 pieces are small, colorful, shell-coated maple candies that since the late 20s have been pressed into the shape of a maple leaf, though they usually only have one flavor that looks more like a berry. As tastes have changed over the years, so have the 5 flavors, but the shape and combination with maple has remained the same. So flavors changed since the 20s, which is what I figured when they said it's not the 20s anymore, since it came out in the late 20s. It's shaped like a maple leaf, but it has a berry flavor. There's also a history of print advertising website that claims to have a 5-piece advertisement scan from a book called The Sweet History of Candy Volume 2 by Charles Lee. Unfortunately, when you look through the website, it seems that all their image links are broken. I wonder if that's important. So there's a book related to this called The Sweet History of Candy, Volume 2. I wonder if we could look it up under the public library. And then who is Charles Lee? Because that name wasn't on the paper as a notable person. It doesn't tell me what the 5 original ones were, but let's go to Charles Lee. I know this is not where I wanted to start, but let's see. Okay, so nothing related to Charles Lee. He doesn't matter. Okay, we're going to pop off of that and go to the library. Now we're going to try Charles Lee again. Oh, they want the book title too. Okay, well, my bad. Usually you could search just by author, but apparently that's not an option. And just to let you know, the game is actually making me type, so apologize for any typos. Says no. Maybe it doesn't like the colon? Okay, can we just do The Sweet History of Candy? Okay, it's just being very difficult. Oh, there we go. It didn't like the semicolon. Okay, so the book came out in 1985. This book is a part of a series about all things candy in the modern world. Book starts in 1925 and continues onward to chronicle the rise of mass production and global distribution. The book ends with a look into the future of candy as envisioned by experts in 1985. With the addition of hindsight, you can clearly see they pretty much got everything wrong. It includes some print advertisements. You can find a newspaper ad for the 5 pieces from the 1930s. So the print ad that we have is from the 30s. So they had already changed the flavors from the 20s to the 30s. They just changed it. That's helpful. But that's not what I came looking for. We're going to go back to the search. We're going to go back to Carl Roottree, because that's who I want to search. Okay, so here's the press release. We did not have that the first time. So December 6, 1998 is with a heavy heart that we mourn the loss of Carl, Brenda, and the Roottree sisters and the other employees that perished in this terrible tragedy. The entire Roottree family is in shock and requesting privacy at this time. As the head of our company, Carl was an incredible man and an unmatched leader. Filling his absence will be difficult and may take considerable time. In the interim, we hope you join us in looking back fondly on Carl and his family's triumphs and accomplishments. They seem to list some accomplishments. One of them seems relevant to your search. Like his great-grandfather before him, Carl earned the highly prestigious Watchman of the Year title. Same as his great-grandfather. That might help us fill in the family tree. Possibly. It's so hard to tell with this family tree. So let's search. Let's try Watchman of the Year. Oh, we got a new periodical. I'll have to go pop and look at that. So it says Business Watch Magazine is a magazine focuses on companies, CEOs, and the economy. They've been around for over 100 years in one form or another, and will often write about major changes in management at famous companies. Every year, they offer an award to a prominent businessman who has furthered the field. They call this Watchman of the Year. You can find through a few searches that 2 Roottrees have been featured as Watchmen of the Year, Elias Roottree and Carl Roottree. Business Watch does not host any online archives on any site you can find via spider search, though you may be able to find individual articles and issues through your periodical search. So we're going to have to hop over there. But his grandfather is Elias Roottree. So Watchman of the Year is awarded by Business Watch magazine. I wonder if someone we know works for that company. That's a good place to start. Maybe we'll search that. So Business Watch magazine. Does anyone we know work there? I don't know. It's the same article. Okay, let's try Elias Roottree. Is there anything else on here? Oh, we printed that. That printed on its own. I did not click anything. Okay, so it says Elias Roottree was the founder and first president of the Roottree Candy Company. So that's interesting. Elias Roottree. He's the founder and first president of the candy company specifically. You can find what's essentially a propaganda site created by the Roottree Company. At the top, there's a picture of him and his wife, Gwyneth. Okay, so he's married. He's married to Gwyneth. And that's probably what printed was the picture that we probably will need for the family tree. There's also a biography section that has been some additional information. So he was credited with creating the 5 pieces. So he made the popular candy. Before that, the farm he inherited only produced syrup. Okay, so his wife definitely contributed to his success then, because he got the farm from marrying her. Okay, after the 5 pieces became wildly successful, Elias spent his time and energy cementing his reputation as a family man. He was quoted on the site as saying, "Blood is thicker than syrup, and that any child linked by blood to me shall be linked by blood to my legacy." The site enthusiastically claims that he made good on that promise, but offers no additional details. There's a few more quotes from Elias from a book called Family Man, The Roottree Legacy by Bess Williams. But it sounds like they're biased. Okay, so we need to look up that book, I guess. So many notes, people. I'm doing this by hand. I may have to type some of these, but it's a lot. So I do want to see this book, and I'm going to try to go pop and look at that periodical. So Family Man, The Roottree Legacy by Bess Williams. Okay, so let's go to the library. We're going to type in Bess Williams. And then Family Man, The Roottree Legacy. So it was published in 1920. It's a nonfiction. It's an old book about Elias Roottree. There's no downloadable version because the book is impossible to find these days. Great. That's not helpful, Bess. Maybe we can get more on Bess Williams. Okay, so Bess Williams was an author born in the late 1980s. She just lived outside of Miami and died tragically young in a major hurricane that struck in 1926. Man, there's not a lot of information about her either. Maybe there's another place I can find that book. Let's look at the periodicals. Oh, Business Watch. Oh, they need Business Watch and then maybe Watchman. I don't know. The problem is I'm not sure what to put in here. Business Watch popped up. So maybe we'll type in Elias Roottree. Because he was definitely it printed something else out. So Elias Roottree was awarded Watchman of the Year in 1936 for his accomplishments in rolling out the 5 pieces to a global market. So he was Watchman of the Year, 1936. So about 11 years after he started making the candy. All right, let's try Carl Roottree and see if we get anything about him. Carl Roottree was voted Watchman of the Year in 1987 for his work with Root. The cover and the summary of the article have been added to your evidence. Okay. But that's for the clothing company, so he got something different. Let's try Brenda. Does she get anything? Roottree? No. So, did they get anything? No. Okay. Nope. So we don't have anything for those. I'm going to go back to the evidence table because now we've accumulated some new stuff. So we're going to get these pictures. So this is the famous picture of Elias and Gwendolyn Roottree taken in 1909 after they founded the Roottree Candy Company, but before it was successful. From what you found on the internet, it seems quite difficult to find anything about Elias or Gwyneth that isn't accompanied by this picture. Elias and Gwyneth are on the notable Roottree list in your evidence. They will be marked on the chart with a star. Now, he is Carl Roottree. Carl Roottree was voted Watchman of the Year in 1987, and a photo of him appears on the cover. According to the cover, Business Watch is the magazine for and about corporate leaders, and has ongoing coverage of who's who in the corporate world. Carl was chosen not for his work at Roottree Company, but for the clothing company Root. There's a brief history. Before they were married, Carl's wife Brenda was a fashion consultant. Okay, that's interesting to know. So she's always been in fashion, even before she was married. When Raina was born, Brenda retired to become a stay-at-home mom. Looking for a creative outlet, she spent any free time she had on the sewing machine. Raina's new clothes were a hit with other parents, including Carl's cousin, Jim Roottree. Well, that's going to be important. So we have Jim Roottree, Carl's cousin. He's a singer. Has a daughter around the same age as Raina. Okay. That's going to be interesting. Word spread. So she was a fashion consultant, then she became a stay-at-home mom, then she started making clothes at home. So she had a very active career. I wonder if that's going to be important. In 1982, Brenda's patterns were being copied by other brands. Seeing the demand, Carl and his second cousin, so we have another cousin, so this is going to be important. We got Ernie Jr., who had just become president. Oh, so he's president of Roottree Candy Company in 1982. Spearheaded Root. Oh, he was spearheaded. Oh, so Carl and his cousin came up with Root. Helped spearhead Root. Other blood relatives who have a say in the company's finances refuse to fund anything other than candy. So Carl personally spent his entire inheritance to bankroll the clothing company. However, when the profits began to appear, the rest of the family changed their tune. They repaid his investment, and now Root sits under the umbrella of the candy company, and they all benefit. Per tradition, or perhaps superstition, new clothes always debuted the ways the first ones did. Raina became the catalog's cover model. As she grew, the product line expanded to older children as well. Her younger sisters were then recruited to show off baby clothes. Carl was voted Watchman of the Year primarily for his personal gamble and ensuring payoff. Okay. Now, this one is Elias. I want his picture again. Elias Roottree was voted Watchman of the Year in Business Watch in 1936, and a painting of him appears on the cover. The magazine says he was voted Watchman of the Year specifically for the recognition of the global rollout of the 5 pieces. So in 1908, he founded the company after marrying his wife, who inherited a maple farm. So Elias founded the company in 1908. That's interesting. Then in 1909, he has a daughter, but they don't say what her name is. So Elias's first child, daughter, born in 1909. And then he has 4 more after that. So 1922, he invents the 5 pieces. So he just had a company, but no candy. I mean, I'm sure he sold something. And then each piece, each flavor is chosen based on the initial of the child. I told you. That's what I said earlier. And then 1924, the 5 pieces are sold in some Pittsburgh markets. I think I need to get some of these notes in. And in 1926, 5 pieces is rolled out all over England. I scrolled way too fast. 1928, new flavor and recipes are finalized. And they're distributed nationwide. Okay. Wow, this is a very thorough article. 1935, we have them purchasing every maple farm in Pennsylvania. Okay, so they were ready for like mass expansion at that point. Pennsylvania. And in 1935 still, so it's the same year, his son, Elias Jr., which is the son, builds a new factory. His architecture firm helps to build a new factory and warehouse. Oh my goodness. In Butler County. And then 1936, worldwide distribution. Okay. Okay. So there's also a what next section that claims Elias is going to pivot to ensure the company's legacy and that the Roottree company remains a family business. He plans to do this with the Clansid Trust. Not sure what that is. We're going to have to search that. But that was very helpful. And then there's one other piece. You found this advertisement in... this was another piece of advertisement. So we have a lot of advertisements. We have a 5 pieces advertisement. This one is older than the other one. The other one was from the 30s, where it showed the 5 flavors. But they were different flavors. So one from the 30s had strawberry, chocolate, blue raspberry, apple, and plum. But this one has grape, elderberry, cinnamon, melon, and miracle berry. So they had completely different flavors in the 20s. Which is 6 years. This advertisement is 6 years after the debut. So I wonder why they changed the flavors so fast. It states that the flavors are inspired by their children, and it goes in a specific order this time. So the order is G for grape, E for elderberry, cinnamon extract, so CE, we have 2 for that one, melon, and then miracle berry. Now, just guessing from what we know about Elias Jr., he's the second child because he's E. That's the only other E in this list. So that correlates with Elias Jr. But that means that something is missing. We don't know the name of the daughter. He had one daughter. Her name starts with a G. So we don't have that. Going to the tree. I don't even know where these people would be. So Carl's the dad, right? Was that the dad? Now I don't even know who I'm looking at. Is this the dad? We want to say his name is Carl. Because he's their dad for sure. So Carl Roottree. There's a lot of Eliases. What's his occupation? He was a president, but what number was he? Guess he's the 5th, to be fair, because he's the last one. And then he married Brenda Roottree. So that should help us fill in. Is Brenda on here? Or am I missing her? Does she not exist? Oh, so she was somebody else before. So she wasn't Brenda Roottree. I'm going to search Brenda White just to make sure that's right. Okay. So I'm assuming this is correct. And he had a star next to him. So I think that's accurate. But what doesn't tell me is where are the 5 kids? You see how I'm missing 5? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one of these kids ends up spawning down from here. So I'm assuming that this is Gwen and this is Elias. Right? These are the original 2. So this should be Elias, the first one. And then this should be Gwyneth Anderson. Oh, so she wasn't... Okay. She was... What is she? She was a fashion... Was she a housewife? Because they said she did... I want to say she was just a housewife then. And he was... I mean, it sounds like he was the first president of those. Is that right? Okay. Woo! Child, I was like stressed out. Okay. So we locked in 3 more. Ha ha, that's funny. And we locked in Brenda White. Yes. Okay. So we do know something, but we're still missing a lot. So they have 5 kids, and we know one of those kids is Elias Jr. But that doesn't really help us. And he has a little picture next to him. And I don't know why. It says, don't forget surnames. They use a surname from birth. Even if their name changed after marriage. Always use the person's most recent occupation. Okay. All right. So the 5 kids. We have somebody with a G. We have Elias Jr. We have CE. We have Melon. And we have Miracleberry. They should be the next row. But I don't know how to get to them from where we are. Because we're over here. This is what we got filled out. So it sounds like me to go back to the evidence table. Who was that? I have one picture that I didn't place anywhere. So this is Elias Roottree. I did put him somewhere. Who is this? Okay, these are the same people. All right, so never mind. I have 2 pictures of Elias for no reason. Right. As he got older. Alrighty. Back to the... I don't know. Can we save? Oh, you can save and quit. Okay. Just want to make sure before I lose my mind. All right. So I don't know what I want to go back and search because now I'm feeling unsure. So I think I want to go back to this and I want to type in Elias Jr. because we know he had another kid. So Elias Roottree Jr.'s name is listed on the website of historical buildings in Butler County. He's listed alongside an old residence that's been preserved called Hunchetop House. Okay. You attempt to find more about the man in the building but come up empty. So he's connected to Hunchetop House. Let's type that in. Because that... sorry. I don't want to type that in twice. House. Okay. Let's try the library. Oh, we don't have a book name. Let's try this. I wonder if that's going to come up. No. The problem is I don't have a book. So that's not going to work. 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 Okay. Not sure why that's not helping us. Okay, let's just type in the Clanced Trust, because that came up, and I don't know why. Okay, so the Clanced Trust is a highly unusual corporate arrangement named after Clancy Edward Roottree, who was Elias's son and the Roottree company head lawyer at the time. Now, CE was one of the 5 original flavors in the 1928 ad. So we're going to assume that that correlates to Clancy Edward Roottree. So that helps. We got 2 kids down because goddamn, it's so hard to figure out these kids. So this was an arrangement, a corporate arrangement between Clancy and the head lawyer at the time of the Candy Corp, but doesn't say who that is. Due to its unique nature, it's often brought up on online discussions about financial matters and inheritance as an oddity. The company mandates that a fixated percentage of the profits are split every quarter amongst bank accounts representing each direct relative of Elias and Gwyneth. The account is created for each blood relative at birth and accessible when they reach 18. The actual number has never fully been disclosed to the public, but due to the ever-increasing success of the company, it's a significant amount of money. The Clanced Trust is known for being essentially impossible to get around due to many checks and balances written into it. Still, there have been several situations in which family members have been tried to be forcibly remove another family member from the trust. Most details online are pretty vague, since the matter is handled internally. The only information you'll discover is a university law school, which apparently had a guest lecturer talk about the Roottrees versus RR in 1994. While looking into the Clanced Trust, you often find mentions of the 5-piece guarantee, which went into effect at the same time. Okay. So I wonder, that's probably something I need to look up. So 5-piece guarantee needs to be looked up. The Rootrees versus RR. By a guest lecturer. That also needs to be looked up. In 1994, so that's super recent compared to the rest of this. So let's try the Rootrees versus RR. You find very few details about this particular incident in regards to the Clanced Trust. The student who attended the lecture wrote about it, wrote the following on the Legal Oddity website. From what you can tell, RR attempted unsuccessfully to remove a fellow family member from the trust. It was said that RR attempted 2 arguments. First, that the person in question was born out of wedlock, and second, they committed a significant crime against a fellow family member. Still, due to an ironclad wording of the Clanced Trust, it's impossible to remove any direct descendant of Elias Roottree without completely dissolving the trust. Man, so that doesn't tell us anything. So RR tried to remove someone, but they are a blood descendant, though. So they're a blood relative born out of, because they were born out of wedlock. But they're still a blood relative, even if they're born out of wedlock. And they committed a crime against another family member. So that's interesting. I wonder why. And it failed. So there's going to obviously be some bad blood between RR and this other family member. But let's look up the 5-piece agreement. Or guarantee. It's a guarantee. Okay, the 5-piece guarantee, in combination with the Clanced Trust, was Elias Roottree's attempt to ensure that the Roottree Candy Company would remain a family business for eternity. In isolation, this is somewhat baffling. A yearly salary of Rootree's president is always locked to the price of a single piece of single pack of 5 pieces. When the 5-piece guarantee went into effect, this was 25 cents per year. Now it's close to $4. Combined with the Clancy Trust, however, it makes more sense. Elias wanted to make sure that only his direct relatives could afford to be president, and he knew that because their passive income was tied to the profits of the company. They would have a vested interest in keeping the company as profitable and successful as possible. Whether or not this was a smart or successful decision is widely debated both online and in person by economists and enthusiasts of all levels of expertise. That does seem kind of crappy because it's like I'm not making any money as a CEO or as a president. So I only make money based on profits, not based on doing the job itself. So you really care a lot about being profitable because I'm not making anything. I'm getting $4 a year. I mean, that's nothing. Even in 1998, I mean, that's still nothing. Okay. So if you broke the Clancy Trust, you're screwed, basically. Because if you don't have the trust that gives you a guaranteed income as a direct descendant, split equally between all the direct descendants, then you don't get anything but $4 a year. So you would want both to stay in effect. You wouldn't want the guarantee to stay in effect, but you want the trust to stay in effect because that doesn't help you make any money. Okay. That was helpful, but then it wasn't. I want to look up the other guy that they mentioned. So we couldn't find anything on Hunch House. Not entirely devastated about that. But I want to figure out Clancy Edward Roottree. That's not helping me. Because we already know that. He was the head lawyer. So... But that doesn't tell me anything more. Man, that doesn't help at all. Maybe we look up RR. Oh, no. Nope. That's not helpful. Okay, so we didn't learn anything new here, except for we have 2 kids' names, like I said, Elias Jr. and Clancy Edward Roottree, but we're missing somebody. Okay, who else was on that list of notable folks? Oh, we crossed them out. So Gwen Roottree. Now, Gwen could be the G from grape of the original 5 flavors. That kind of would make sense. And her name seems like it's a variation of Gwendolyn, which was her mother's name, or Gwyneth. I don't know why I keep wanting to say her name is something else. So let's try Gwen Roottree and see what I come up with. We're also going to try red in parentheses, Roottree, and see what that comes up with. Once I finish the 6 people, I think I'm going to take a break because this is crazy. This is like the craziest thing. Okay, so we have Gwen Roottree. Okay, you find some information on the website about old films that are not yet available on VHS. The site is not well organized and the search is broken, but you can get to individual pages from your search engine. Gwen Roottree is a somewhat well-known actress who was active in the 1950s. She also appeared in tabloids, especially around the time of her highly publicized divorce. So she's an actress popular in the 50s. She's divorced and appeared in tabloids. Okay. Her biggest role was in the minor hit film Guys Like Us. She left Hollywood after the flop of Christmas Mission. There are circulated pictures of Gwendolyn from behind the scenes of one of her movies, which you've added to evidence. Did you know Gwendolyn was the granddaughter of Elias Roottree, the founder of Roottree Candy? She shouldn't have been named Roottree, but her father took her mother's famous name. That's interesting. So her biggest role is Guys Like Us. And then she left Hollywood after Christmas Mission flopped. Okay. So she was only in it for a short time, I guess. And then she's the granddaughter of Elias. So that means one of her parents is still one of these original people, one of these original 5. Maybe she's a granddaughter of... Well, I don't know. Because I thought she was the G from the original 5 flavors. Now she's not. Her dad took her mom's last name. So her mom is a Roottrie. So that's interesting. Let's look up Guys Like Us and see if we can come up with something. Okay. You find some information, not well organized. So Guys Like Us is a 1953 film. So it's a 1953 film about 2 secretaries who cut their hair short and pose as businessmen to get ahead in life until one of them falls in love with the client and hilarity ensues. Starring Gwen Roottree, Leslie Florence, and Harrison Lane. I wonder if those other people are going to be important. Because maybe she ends up marrying one of her co-stars. The title is a play on words and can be read that 2 women are men similar to other men, or that the men are fond of them. Okay, before I get too far into the weeds, let's do Leslie Florence. Leslie Florence was Gwyneth's co-star in Guys Not Like Us. Okay, so we don't have anything on her. Okay, Harrison Lane. Okay, Harrison Lane was a television actor with a major role in Guys Like Us and some other films. His largest role before Guys Like Us was a villain in the first season of Western Frontiers. Due to the popularity of Guys Like Us, the studio brought Lane back to play the villain's twin brother, this time as a hero joining the protagonist. Western Frontiers has no connection to the Roottrees. Harrison Lane appears to be a dead end. He married his high school sweetheart after they reunited at the movie premiere. So, not helpful. Okay. Now, her other movie was Christmas Mission. So, let's... Christmas Mission. Christmas Mission is on a page called Flops. It was a war movie about World War I released in 1955 that received poor reviews and lost the studio money. Gwen Roottree had a role as a soldier's wife who wrote letters from home. You'll find no additional relevant information. Oh. So Christmas Mission was a 1995 flop. Okay, and she played a soldier's wife. I mean, I can see why it could flop because it's not super exciting. Now we have one new piece of evidence. Can I go back? So this is Gwen. We do need her picture. She's marked as a star on this, but I don't know. She's supposed to be the granddaughter of him. So she wouldn't be on this first line. She would be on the second line. Because that would be, these are the founders. There are 5 kids. She's a granddaughter. So if she's a star, she can only be 1, 2, or 3. But it's so hard to know. You can't tell. So I think that means a little bit deeper dive into somebody else. We could do Jim. Jim's name came up a couple times, or... Oh, I want to go back to this list. We're missing something on Gwen because I haven't put her down yet. But let's try Jim Roottree and see what comes up for him. So his real name is James. So it's James, but he goes by Jim, which is a common nickname, I suppose. Roottree. He's a singer. in a duo called Jim and Diamond. And he's married to his wife, Diamond LaRoe. Okay. So that helps us a little bit. The duo, according to many sites you'll find, is considered a one-hit wonder due to a disco song, Rolling on the Down to the City. Okay. Although Jim writes the majority of the songs, plays a guitar, and often sings, Diamond is considered by fans to be the band's lead singer. The band never had another hit, but has its fans who refer to themselves as Diamond Dazzlers. The rest of their music is more folksy and acoustic than the one song they're known for. Jim and Diamond have continued to release music through the 80s and early 90s. Other albums you can find are mentioned Cherry Tree and The Sound of Laughter. Jim has been a bit of a recluse and hasn't made a public appearance since 96. Well, that's not good. It's going to be hard to find a picture of him. The wife, maybe not, but him. So he writes, plays guitar, sings, but Diamond's more popular. That's unfortunate. Doesn't say who his parents are. He's not a part of the original 5, so that doesn't help at all. They still made music into 80s and early 90s, but he hasn't been seen since 96. Alright, I'm going to look into the albums Cherry Tree and Sound of Laughter. These people are very complicated. Like, they have very extensive lives. So Cherry Tree. Oh, can I put it in quotes? Maybe that'll help. Okay. All right. Never mind. Let's try Jim and Diamond, because you guys are killing me here. Man, that does not help me. Okay. So why don't we try Cherry Tree album. There we go. Because I was like, why is this so difficult? This can't be the only way to search. Like, now the internet's more intuitive, I think, with AI and everything. But Cherry Tree was released in 1995, so that was more recent. It wasn't professionally reviewed, though the diehard fans of Jim and Diamond online say it was returned to form. The CD apparently is so hard to find in stores that some fans have resorted to selling cassettes online. There's a music convenience website that claims to sell the album, but it's sold out at the moment. You do find a short sample of one song called Sun. You add it to your evidence. I guess we'll listen to it, but I don't know if it's going to be very helpful. I want to look up their other album, The Sound of Music. Oh, Sound of Laughter, I mean. Okay, so Sound of Laughter is an older album from 1989. So, almost 10 years earlier. Can't find a picture, not very successful. Reviews are middle, even from fans. Some bass-liner notes existed on the Jim Roottrees fan page, and states that the lyrics and guitar are credited to Jim Roottrees and the vocals to Diamond LaRoe. Maybe I'll just look up her by herself. Okay, so this is the same thing. Okay, back to the evidence. That gives us a clue. We got Jim and Diamond. Rolling on the Down to the City was barely a top 20 hit for a few weeks in 1979. According to the liner notes, it satires how a part of society was content to remain indifferent to economic inflation and civil unrest in the Middle East, unless pop culture tricked them into caring. Somewhat ironically, listeners did not pay attention to the lyrics enough to trick into caring. Instead, most of it plays from roller discos. Because if it's a product of the time, it doesn't get much play anymore, even on stations that play oldies. Maybe that's why you never heard of it before. The image is from an auction up for a sealed copy. It has a sticker saying the only great-grandson of Elias Roottree can make disco this sweet. It's credited by Peter Janowitz of MMM. So Jim is a great grandson. Of Elias Roottree. Now I'm curious to look up Peter John Wicks because he seems important. He's going to be starred. I don't know about that. Cherry Tree is an album by Jim and Diamond. One of their songs is called Sun. The website you found it on did not have a full version, but you managed to find the short preview of the song's chorus. Jim sings the following. There blazes a spark of light that ever brightly shone from her starting days, imparting wisdom to conquering life unknown. Though someday she'd depart and part, I'd never be alone. In my heart, I'll always be the son of... I love that it cuts off right before it tells me who he's the son of. That's my absolute fave. Did not get as far as I would have hoped. So he's a great-great-grandson. So these are the original parents. These are their kids. These are their grandkids. These are their great-grandkids. So he's on the line that Carl is on. So he'd be cousins to Carl. He'd be on this line. So, and he's supposed to be starred. There's only one person starred on this line. So I'm going to assume that this is him. So this is Jim, James, whatever, Roottree. Is he on here? And he is a singer. He's a musician. Is that an option? And then his wife is Diamond LaRoe. Because they want the married name. Like before they got married. If I'm right, this is who he should be. If I'm wrong, he's definitely in the wrong spot. No biggie, but I think that's her. Now, his mom, because it seems like he's singing about the mom. His mom could have been Gwen, because he said starved, trailing, lights. So his mom could have been Gwen. But that's so confusing. Because Gwen would be starred, right? Because she was on the list of notable names. And Gwen is the granddaughter. So she'd be on the third row. So see how that doesn't work? Because it's like, if Gwen was on this row, Jim would be on this row, but he would be starred. So it's like, she's in the wrong spot? I don't know. We're going to go back because there's something else I wanted to search besides that. So let's go back to the computer. We're going to search Peter Janowicz. I could be wrong and this could be a dead end. He's a music critic. Oh, he's unrelated. So he used to work for Modern Music Monthly before the magazine went under. So Modern Music Monthly. Does that mean anything? So I got a new periodical for it. But it didn't tell me anything useful. So Modern Musical Monthly. So the magazine from the 40s to the 80s. But went out of business. Which that happens, that's pretty common. So let's go to periodicals. We're going to go to Music Monthly. We're going to try Jim and Diamond in this. Oh, see, that's a lot more information. The interview and review from 1979 titled A Reluctant Hitmaker, Jim goes into his first band. Until a few years ago, Diamond and I were in the C&J, J&D with my cousin and his ex. That's important. So before they broke off, they were a part of something else. Jim was in a band previously called C&J and J&D with his cousin and the cousin's ex. Clark never knew his father. So is Clark the cousin? Wait a minute. So Clark never knew his father. So our grandpop insisted he spend time with my dad and me. Okay. So Clark is the cousin, I'm assuming, who spent time with Jim and his dad, since he never knew his dad. And they grew up like brothers. That's interesting. Okay. As a result, Clark and I grew up like brothers. So they act like brothers, but they're cousins. And then Jane and Diamond, on the other hand, are actually sisters. So Diamond's sister is Jane. In real life. The four of us had a cute family band thing going on, not our finest hour. Regardless, when Diamond walked in on Clark in bed with her and Jane's older sister, everything exploded. So band broke up because Clark cheated. So Clark cheated on Jane with the older sister. With her and Diamond's older sister. Only thing Clark and I had in common was music, but even then we never agreed what it should be. He was always more interested in catchy tunes, something you could hum a week later. I was told Roland is like that, but that wasn't my goal. When he called me up and said he actually liked it, I took a sign that I was going in the wrong direction musically. That made him laugh, but I'm trying to make art. I don't mind saying any of this because he'd agree. For most of the decade, he was a mess, but he's a lot happier now. He started Rafter Tunes and is a much better jingle writer than songwriter. One of the benefits of our famous family is how massive companies are willing to be a client. That's also how my dad was connected with Roottree. All his old ad campaigns were hung on the wall over a record player, but I was never interested. I just went straight for music. I guess Clark was paying more attention. So Jim's dad was a ad writer or a jingle maker. Clark Redwood. We need to look him up. Roottree, not Redwood. Roottree is a jingle maker. Who founded Rafter Tunes. Okay, so we're going to go back. So we're going to look up a few people because we have a ton of people now. So I have Jane LaRoe. That's important. So her name is something else. Jane Delvico is listed as a talent for hire site as a singer. Way down in the credits of her biography, it mentions she got started as a young girl when she was Jane LaRoe of the Luxy LaRoes. It also mentions to only contact her agent in the event that you actually want to hire her, and that any and all inquiries about her past or her sister would be ignored. So obviously they're estranged now. So Jane Delvico, who was formerly LaRoe, formerly Jane LaRoe, is a wedding singer. who used to be in a band with called the Luxy La Rose. Okay. So we're going to piggyback on that. So Lucky La Rose. Okay. So nope, there's nothing there with that. We're going to circle back to Lucky La Rose. So let's see if we can find her in here. Lucky La Rose. There we go. In an article from 1968, you find a small section focusing on young up-and-coming talent that Modern Music Monthly predicts will make it big. This is what they had to say about the La Rose. The La Rose sister got their start doing session work for their great-uncle's record label. If you remember any songs from 1960 to 1965 that featured the voices of kids, they were probably involved. Back then, they were credited as the Lucky La Rose. Now that he's passed, they've moved on to bigger and better ventures and are going by their full name. Diamond and Jane are touring with some famous faces. Ever heard of the Roottrees? And are looking to release an album sometime in the next year. Youngest Kim is about to step into a prominent role on Broadway, taking over from one of the children in Oliver. Okay. Jane and Diamond have a younger sister called Kim. Okay. Named Kim, who performs on Broadway, or at least she used to. But they started as the Lucky La Rose back in the 60s. As kids, under their uncles, or their great uncles, under their great uncle's record label. Before they split off. Okay, so we're going to look up, I'm going to go back to this. So Kim LaRoe. Oh, nothing. Okay. All right. Well, my bad. Kim doesn't exist. So we looked up the Lucky La Rose, and that was important. Clark Roottree is the one that made jingles. It says no. That's interesting. Okay, what about Raffer Tunes? Oh, his name changed. So our website about Raffer Tunes, Clark Rafferty LaRoe. That's interesting. I thought he was a Roottree. Maybe that's why he didn't come up. So he's Clark Rafferty LaRoe. Advertising firm. On its about page, you find a picture labeled the inspiration for the famous Super Bowl ad. Below that is more detail. Clark is in the department store getting a family portrait with his wife and child, and when his wife's trying to get his youngest Katrina to calm down, he had an idea for the Super Bowl Roottrees ad. This photo is now in evidence. So he's married with kids, youngest daughter named Katrina. I want to search him by his actual name, since I thought he was a Roottree and he isn't. Oh. Can we just try Lafferty? Okay, a few fan sites for the band Jim and Diamond seem to mention that he used to make music with Clark Rafferty. They mention an album called The Times. Clark and Jim made an album called The Times. These Times. Okay. So let's try that. These Times album. Okay. Let's try These Times in this periodical. There we go. We're getting somewhere. You got to do a lot of flipping back and forth, though. Okay, so in the periodicals, it tells me there's a section of the magazine called Skip It or Flip It, which has short, pithy blurbs about new records. The album called These Times is listed under Skip It with the following. These Times, a new single from C&J, J&D. Oh. So C and J, J and D. So it sounds like it's Clark and Jane, Jim and Diamond, if I'm correct. Called these times. So it's Clark Rafferty, Jim Roottree, and then the two of the LaRoe sisters, which can only be Jane and Diamond, because Kim doesn't do music, she does Broadway. So that kind of eliminates her. And they also said she was younger. It's folk style songwriting. Okay. That still isn't super helpful, though. So we're assuming that this is... We found this photo on the Laugh for Tunes website. It's labeled the inspiration for the famous ad campaign. Clark was in the department store getting a portrait with his wife and child. Okay, we read that. She just looks so unhappy. The child. I don't know where to even put him, though. So, technically, Jim... They're cousins. So, Clark sounds like he's a LaRoe. Which is very confusing. Just very confusing. So it's like, I don't know where he belongs on this tree. I feel like I'm getting nowhere with these people. They're like getting into the rabbit hole. We're going to go back to Red Roottree and see if he means anything. Because I don't know what I'm supposed to do with Jim and Clark right now. They took me on a tizzy, but that's not where I wanted to be. So his real name... is Aloysius, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, Aloysius Herring Roottree, or Red, is a judge. He's an appointed judge and politician who earned his nickname ironically because he was ambassador for Ireland for about 6 days. Okay, don't know why that would earn him that nickname. He served what some people contend is the shortest term in history. A few days after he was appointed, he heard disparaging his position in the Irish people. Oh, so he got in trouble then, after being caught with the hot mic, huh? Then he tried to run for state senate. He claimed to be related to the Roottree Candy Company in a newspaper ad, but it came out that his last name was merely a coincidence, and he was defeated in a landslide. I wonder why they said it was a coincidence. Because that's not a common last name, right? So it's like... Was he illegitimate? Because I know earlier we heard about somebody who tried to get someone removed because they were illegitimate. And so it's like, well, is he the one that was illegitimate and it damaged his career? RR, which could be Red Roottree, tried to get a family member removed because they were born out of wedlock and committed a crime against a family member. Could RR be Red Roottree? I don't know. That's a good theory, though. Okay. I'm not sure who else to search for. Because I'm not getting anywhere with the... Oh, I don't want him anymore. So Red is a red herring. Because we didn't get enough. There's something we're missing on Gwen. Because her name is not crossed out. So Gwen is not in a spot yet. We have Jim. I didn't put Jim in a spot yet because... I don't understand who Jim's parents are. We have Lauren Roottree and then Miracle Jr. So, not sure where to start with that. Really kind of lost here. I guess we'll do Lauren Roottree. Because I got to lock in 3 more people or it won't let me move forward. So, All right, Lauren. Okay, so author Lauren Roottree, a distant relative of the Roottrees sisters, is known for her book, A Life Between Wars. So she's an author. She's a distant relative of the Roottrees sisters. So she's on this current branch that we're on right now, most recent family tree. And she has a book. So she wrote a book called A Life Between Wars. So that's interesting. According to the website about famous authors in the 1960s, Lauren released a few romance novels under her married name, Lauren Lafferty. To a little fanfare, when the publisher learned she'd been keeping diaries about her famous family, they insisted she release them under her original name, Lauren Roottree, to take advantage of her family's notoriety. That's interesting. So she also wrote romance novels under the name Lauren Rafferty, but no one cared. Now, she published something that would disparage the family. So again, somebody that they tried to get off the family tree, could be Lauren that they tried to get rid of. I don't know how to feel about that. The selection of diary entries released in 1965 as A Life Between Wars spanned from the untimely death of her husband in World War II to coping with the post-World War as a young widow and mother, as well as her perspectives on changing times and socialites all the way through the entry into Vietnam. While the context is not considered particularly relevant to modern audiences, it has found new life as an exercise in high school English classes to show an evolution in writing style and a look into life into previous generations. After the success of the diaries, her publisher re-released her romance novels under the name Lauren Roottree. This included Romance in Court, which gained popularity. She followed the re-release up by writing 2 sequels, creating what fans now refer to as the Court Jester series. You will find no recent details about her. She's now listed as retired. So from 1965 into the Vietnam War. She's a widow and mother. And then she wrote Romance in Court and the Court Jester series. I guess to be safe, we check the library. So it's going to be under Lauren Roottree. Court Jester. Court Jester series. No. Okay, so that didn't help me. Romance in Court. Okay, so that came up with something, and then she wrote A Life Between Wars, and that's her other one. So Romance in Court, 1968. She talks about inspiration from one of her brother Clancy's lectures on the Middle Age. So Clancy Lafferty. No, Clancy is not a Lafferty. So Clancy is Clancy Edward Roottree, which is one of the 5 original children. And she said that Lauren said that's her brother. I just can't imagine that that's her brother, though. Because what is her? Does she have another name besides Lauren? Because the original 5 children should start with the letters G, E, C, M, and M. So unless I'm missing something, L is not one of the letters. So how is she one of the sisters? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm going to try her other book, A Life Between Wars, and see if that comes up with something. Because that was her first book that got her really popular under her Roottree name. What is it printing? It is printing like 20 pages. Like, girl, we can't be getting all this. So this is published in 1965. So this is published before the other book. And then it was republished in 1993. I guess under the new name. It's a nonfiction, taught in high school. And then that's been added to our evidence. So let's swoop back over there because they print out like 7 pages. Wow. Okay, so A Life Between Wars. The below are notes and observations you made while skimming through Lauren Roottree's diary based on the pages of Life Between Wars. Lauren Roottree is a notable Roottree list in your evidence. She'll be marked on the chart with a star. Book was published in 1965 and consists of diary entries from 1940 to 1965. The most important entries that much of the diary and Lauren's thoughts revolve around the loss of her husband, Jacob. Lauren's first husband was Jacob, who died in World War II. Lauren's son is Clark, and she never remarried. Okay, well, that's helpful. Lauren is a granddaughter. Oh, wow, that a lot of scrolling there. So Lauren is the granddaughter of Elias and Gwyneth on the father's side. On father's side. So her mother's family was called the Cossells, but she never mentioned them. Mother's side is Cossells. Her father, who she always refers to as Pop, was the head lawyer for the Roottree Candy Company and helped write. Oh, so her father is Clancy. So her father is Clancy Edward Roottree. So we need to put him on the tree in order to put her on the tree because she's under him, who was head lawyer. Okay. It's clear that the Roottrees have different internal names for the different generations of their family. Lauren uses it often. So the 5 pieces are the first generation. Oh, that makes sense. So the 5 pieces are the first gen kids of Gwyneth and Elias. That's actually very helpful, but we did figure that out already. The second gen, the next generation are Lauren's generation. So she's the grandchildren of Gwyneth and Elias. And then the free spirits are everyone after her. So that includes her son, Clark. Generation after. Okay. So this is Jacob, which is her husband. We want his little picture. Alrighty. What else do we got? We looked at that. Okay. Lauren's diary contains some labeled pictures. This is the 5 pieces. This picture was famous in our house. Pop had that framed. This is him on the left. So her dad is Clancy. It was taken in 1935 to celebrate the move to the new warehouse that Eli Jr. designed. Angie and I both wanted to be in the picture since Miracle was in it. And the 3 of us were all about the same age. We were told only the 5 pieces, which didn't go over well, to say the least. Eventually, I suppose, to stop the tantrum, they posed us in front of the camera with Mr. Morden, who was there with Aunt Gwendolyn. I found out years later they never even took a second photo. That's confusing. I'm not sure who the other people in the picture are. So him on the left is the dad. But I don't know. I guess Eli Jr. is here in the middle. I don't know who Mr. Morton is. Well, that's confusing. So I definitely want to look up Mr. Morton. And then Aunt Gwendolyn, which is a whole different person. And then Angie, apparently, is somebody. So it's like, okay. Not sure who Angie is. Let's see. Then we have another picture. So this picture is labeled The Next Generation. It's attempting to recapture the spirit of the 5 pieces photo from with our generation. So this is Lauren's generation. For this old time's sake, I gathered on the warehouse floor. I wanted Eli to stand all the way to the left. So this is Eli Jr., right? Since he looked a lot like Pop did in the old one, but I was outvoted by my brothers. They insisted the 4 of us stand together, and so we clumped in the middle and everyone filtered in behind and in front of us. The only one too good to make an appearance was Gwen. Grandma insisted if we included Sam, even though I didn't want to. None of us understood why, including Sam. I don't think it was fair Miracle made it in, especially since he's technically a 5-piece. I guess my inner child holds these grudges after all. It's very confusing. They keep showing me 4, but it's like, what's 4? I don't have anything else. Oh, there are other pictures. Oh, there's other titles. Oh, okay. An entry entitled Complaints from Lauren Roottree's Diary, written in 1953. This entry seems to focus specifically on one of Lauren's family members, Gwen, who's on the notable Roottree list. It seems everyone has something to complain about Gwen as an only child. Oh, so Gwen's an only child. Whereas Lauren has 3 younger brothers. Okay. There was a summer where I went to stay with her and Aunt Margot. So Aunt Margot is somebody. I must admit, seeing her everywhere contributed to my unhappiness. Her visage stares at me even now from my coffee table. She gets to be in Starlet and tells tales when she gallivants around the world, kissing the likes of Harrison Lane and Wild Bill Williams. She's the first Roottree woman to be anything other than a housewife, and I am jealous. If it were not a single mother, I could make my own way in this world. But I'm off topic. A girl with all the luck in the world was jealous of me, and now, though I have been undoubtedly burdened by terrible tragedy, I am also lucky to be born into a family that can support me for eternity. I can raise a child without worry, unlike countless other widows. If any of them were to hear me complaining, they would rightfully scoff just like I do at Gwen. A diary entry from Dynasty 1958 focuses on the day her grandfather Elias announced he would step down as president and the meeting to determine his successor. I wish I had been a fly on the wall today. Clancy told me that everyone got quite heated. Granddad was furious none of his sons would take over as president, but that's what he gets for holding on to it so long. With architects, preachers, and lawyers, no one's got time to step up. With the 5 pieces refusing to do so, it came down to the next gens. Pop argued at length that the company should stay with our branch of the family since we still have the Roottree name. I'm not even sure Clancy would have wanted it, but he's the one who volunteered. Oh, so when the original Elias stepped down, it went to Zach. It did not go to any of the 5 children, but went to a grandchildren. Named Zach, who was a firstborn son of the 5Ps. So he's a firstborn son of the firstborn 5Ps. So he would have to be G's child. So the first daughter is his mom, but we don't know her name, so can't really finish that. And he has a different last name. So that's interesting. I asked Clancy if it ever came up that a woman could take over. However, after all, Angie's older than Zach, and I'm the oldest of all of us, but he just laughed. I'll never forget the cuss word Pop used when he told Ma it wouldn't go to us. Mother, ever quick-witted, at least with catty remarks, countered, maybe it'll go to the only member of the family who looks like he still samples the product. Yikes. A diary entry called Sam from 1963. From the previous entry, learned that Elias had given it to his wife and announced that Sam, an obscure relative, would be included in family gatherings. So we have a Sam, but I don't know where he fits into that. Gwyneth has been pushing to include Sam for quite some time. Why Sam? I have many distant relatives I've never met. After all, Granny had sisters and Granddad had a brother or two, but I was told trim their branches from the family tree. So why is Sam special? Nothing adds up, and I'm not the only one to realize it. Angie summoned all the next gens to a secret meeting in Zach's office. Gwen's in Paris, but the rest of us, including Miracle's boys, spent ages trying to unravel the mystery. None of us had even met Sam until Uncle Junior's wedding to Patsy last year. So Uncle Elias Jr. married to Patsy. And this, what year was this? 1962. Okay. At the reception, when I asked who Sam was, Pop shushed me and said it's complicated. Clancy swore he saw Sam working alongside the farmhands, EC, and John when they used to drive past the old Anderson farm on his way to work. Upon hearing that, Zach checked the records and managed to confirm all three are on the books. Eli, Miracle's youngest, not my brother, even chimed in. Apparently, when he was riding his mini bike alongside the farm a few weeks ago, Sam gave him some old tools and taught him how to make the bike's engine faster. None of us thought that was proper for a magnitude of reasons, but Eli seemed thrilled. So Sam works with EC and John on the old Anderson farm. That doesn't really help me, though. And then the final entry, Clark from 1964. Clark is getting married, and in my opinion, far too young. He's barely 18, for God's sake, and Danielle isn't much older. But openly confronting him would make me a hypocrite. After all, Jacob and I got married at 16. So Lauren's son, Clark, married Danielle at 18 in 1964. Clark, like the rest of his generation, is a free spirit. What else do you call a group of kids growing up with more money than anyone can spend? They all aspire to be musicians and artists and dancers and all sorts of nonsense. The only one that has any discipline is Carl. But that's because Pop forced Clancy to send him to the academy. So Carl is also Clancy's child. Grandpa forced Clancy to send Carl to the academy. I'm assuming it's military academy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm getting old, but our generation was never so bad. The brothers all seem to pursue paths of knowledge. The most rebellious thing anyone ever did was bring someone home that would be illegal to marry if we ever lived anywhere south of Pennsylvania. Pop seems to have gotten over it because Edward is set to take over his department once he retires. As for me, my first published book, Swashbuckle My Heart, is based on the pirate stories I used to invent with Jacob when we were walking in the woods after school. I think he'd be proud that Clark and I are carrying on his name. Even my cousins are doing well. So Lauren's cousins are Zach and then Gwen. You know, that we have a lot going on with this tree. So now coming back to it, that's very confusing though. So one of these people, Carl's on the same tree, because Carl is Clancy's child, right? Or no? Because it's so unclear. It's so unclear. Because Lauren, it's just so it's so hard to tell what's going on here. So Lauren has 3 younger brothers. So in theory, this should be Lauren, maybe, because on this tree, nobody else has 3. So if this is Clancy, which, oh my God, I don't even remember which one's supposed to be him. Good Lord, I'm going to have to go back and look at the evidence. But I want to say this person here is Clancy Roottree. I just have to go back and find a picture for Clancy. Right? And we're saying that Clancy was the head lawyer. Is he a lawyer? Where's lawyer? Is that not on here? Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. So we're saying that Clancy is Lauren's dad. Good luck putting a picture on this chick because she's going to drive me nuts. But I want to say she's Lauren Roottree. Right? I don't know what picture we're going to have for her. And Lauren was an author. No, not an actor. She was an author. And her spouse was Jacob Rafferty. And they had one kid, which is Clark, who wrote jingles. Is that an option? I don't even know if that's an option. Is he a musician? Because he wrote jingles. It's kind of musical, right? And Clark married Jane, right? No, he married Danielle. Maybe, because that's not clear, actually. Now Lauren Roottree, how do we figure out who she was? Because now I want a picture of her so I can lock her in. And then Clark. Now I know he's Clark, right? No, he's Jim. Nope. Sorry, put him back. So now I'm getting confused. So if her dad was Clancy, Clancy has 4 kids. Lauren and 3 younger brothers. And then her son is Clark. She only had 1 kid. I just don't know who the other 3 kids are. It's just so unclear. Because we have cousins. You know, Lauren talks about her son. He marries Danielle. Then we have Uncle Elias Jr. So if she's referring him to as uncle, he has to be one of these 4 other people up here other than Clancy. I still don't know where to put Elias Jr. on this list. So that's a mess. Then we have Gwendolyn, who's an only child. But who's her mom? Like, I don't even know. I'm getting more lost as I'm looking through this list. I need to find Clancy's picture. So let's go back to that. Because if this is Lauren... Oh, the old-timey picture is Lauren. So if I'm saying this is Lauren, then that's Lauren. Right? That's what we're saying. Okay, so Clancy, who are you? Where are you coming from? How do I know? So she said her papa's on the left. So I'm assuming that's him. Okay. Oh, child, they be making this difficult. I don't even know anymore. I'm actually very confused. Lauren's Jen sent me over the edge. We locked in Diamond and Jacob. Oh, and Danielle. Yes. Yes. That is awesome. That is awesome.
You're on a roll. I'll try to keep that momentum going. Carl's office was a mess, thanks to some burst pipes. But I unearthed a photo from a 1970s Roottree reunion. I also found some important-looking papers.
Oh.
You've traced 9 blood relatives so far. I'll have more to share after.
She better be a blood relative, whoever this is talking to me. I don't even know where to start with this because we locked in some. I'm going to pause it here. I'm not going to do any more because we got 9 out of 18. She wants me to find more. But we've locked in some good people here. I don't know why he's not locked in. Oh, because I didn't put a picture. So that's on me. But we have some people with some movement here, which is great. But yeah, before I dig into anything else, I think I'm going to let it rest and kind of give it a whirl here. But this is a very interesting game. Like, it makes you think. It puts you in the mind of Clue or like a whodunit, but to another degree, because you really have to search between physical evidence, the internet, periodicals, the library. Like, it's a little bit more in depth. And I definitely recommend, if you're doing this in real life, to either have pen and paper ready or use a note system that comes in the game. I personally have not used the note system. I guess I could have used the note system, but I'm just so scared. Maybe I'll start that the next time. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think so far? And with all this, which is the point, is to figure out who's actually blood relatives. What do you think actually happened with the plane crash? I'm actually really concerned about that. We have not talked about that at all. But let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.